I always win a trophy in my second year, and now he's actually followed it up with a club like Tottenham, who hasn't won a trophy for so long. It's just mind-blowing that. Imagine if he didn't, how much stick he would have got for that quote at the start of the season, Nico.
Yeah, and he probably would have been gone. I don't know. I mean, in hindsight, he obviously played his cards right, but in the moment, it felt so overly bold that it became kind of like the mantra of this season. It really like added this sort of defiant energy to Spurs' season. The thing is that they were so bad throughout the year. And it's like, there's no way that this guy with this team, the way that they're playing, he's going to follow this up. And lo and behold, he started going through every single round of the Europa League, and then you said, I don't know, he's onto something here. And he got it done, and you can't say anything to him.
What I loved was in the post-match show when he was talking with the desk, and he said, what I really want is this club to believe in themselves. Because you're right, it's completely bold to be, 17th, the worst ever to win a trophy, and you still won it. To give that hope to your team. And I mean, I think Tottenham needed that boldness, that confidence, that kind of cockiness, I'm going to go back and forth with the media. I think it kind of injected some energy into this team to finally get this done. In the opposite way, it could have added even more pressure. It could have been far worse, which at times it did, but I mean, we got to give the man his flowers.
I mean, I think the energy that he wanted to balance was Spursy with that attitude.
Definitely.
Worked out well. There was a split within the fan base. And he started becoming very defiant at the start of the season. He says that quote. And then later on towards the season, they started playing really poorly. I think a lot of Spurs fans didn't buy this chatter. And going into this final, it's almost like you thought, all right, win or lose, he's out. This is his swan song. And what I interpreted from that interview, specifically not that portion that we showed, but they asked him a lot about the club, and he was referencing Tottenham as look, you can do it. You can do it, not we can do it. It was a lot of you and a lot of we, and this is me reading between the lines. I'm not going to sit here and give you my Fabrizio Romano, here we go, because of what I'm interpreting from an interview post-game. But it was a lot of you and not me. So I wonder if this is the end of the Ange era at Tottenham, but I don't know if legend is too much of a word.
I just wanted to counter that a little bit, right? And as a parent, maybe he's trying to empower the club, the players. It's possible, right? It might be the last game that he ever coaches for Tottenham, but at the end of the day, he might be back, and he wants to empower not only just the players, the fans, the organization, and change that mindset that you're saying that they had just a year ago.
Yeah, I completely agree. I took that as, you can do it. I believe in you. Let's change that ethos around of the club, that why would we put our eggs in a basket or throw a game away for another club? That's not who we are. That's not who this club should be. There should be belief. So that I interpreted it the same way. That was a way to just give confidence.
I wonder for those fans, though, if this one game, because they knew walking into this final, it's there's two possibilities. You win the title or you lose the title. And a lot of the fans that were anti-Ange, right, if he managed to sway them back because of this final, I would love to get a pulse, and I think we will get a pulse in the incoming months at the beginning of the season or whenever it happens, if Ange continues or not, how these fans feel, because beyond this one game, they had a really, really bad season. We also can't ignore that.
Their last game of the year, obviously they got one more game. I said that was his last game as a manager this year, but they have one more game, obviously, at home against Brighton. It'll be very curious to see what the fans say. I'm sure that there's going to be some voices, right? And if they really want Ange to come back, I think we'll see that in that last home game.
I think the reception is going to be positive for Ange. He got them a trophy.
I think so,
the
too.
First European trophy in 41 years. The first real major trophy beyond a League Cup, right? How can it not But I do think there's also a simultaneous reality that the team is not good. And I know as Spurs fans, maybe you don't want to consider that at the moment because you just want to ride your high and deservedly so. Like, I don't want to rain on their parade. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm super happy for Spurs fans. But it's not impossible that these two things coexist. You were absolutely garbage for an entire year, but you won a trophy. Sensational. Like, you got to tackle that head on. And if I'm a new sporting director, perhaps coming in the summer, and I'm looking at a larger sample size, am I going to, like, similarly to Ten Hag when he won the FA Cup, Manchester United were really bad, but the hierarchy at United decided to keep Ten Hag because he won an FA Cup. And then they fired him after giving him a summer, so the rebuild almost starts with a step backwards, right? So I'm wondering if this trophy will paper the cracks enough for him to stay.
For Ange Postecoglou to use this now as almost a catalyst going into the summer, going into the season, kind of telling the fans, look, this isn't a one and done, this is only just the beginning. It'd be a good way for him to go about things. But they've just received $115 million from this win. Darian, how can they use that money in the summer to revamp this squad?
I mean, they need some depth. They need goal scorers. But to go on what you said, I think I want it to be enough. I mean, to see the real test of what he can do. They gave, like you said with Man U, Ten Hag had the chance to bring in.
What if they would have lost, though?
Say that again?
What if they would have lost the final? Would you be saying I would like to see this continue?
That's true. Everyone would be saying Ange is definitely
one
out.
game. So is one game really swaying our opinion? One game, 90 minutes, where it was a really bad 90 minutes. Take away the trophy.
They've had so many injuries. Like he's had to deal with a lot this season.
I agree.
It's not just this one game.
But
it's
if
not
they
that
play
they've
this
just been
high-octane
abysmal.
style, high-intensity, explosive, and the players keep getting injured, whose fault is that? I feel really bad being super negative right now.
I think
It's a good reality check.
the one game question mark is valid though,
Yeah.
because and in here I'm going to see it from a positive way, right? The mentality of the players and the club, could it have completely changed? And look, confidence is so real in sports, right? We've all felt it. When we're confident that we can do it, we can win, we can be the best team, we can be the better player on the night, win our one-on-one duels, all those kind of things. And if Ange has been able to give that to the club, then maybe one game is possibly enough to at least stay on the ride a little bit longer. If you think about the X's and O's and the tactics, like you said, not good enough this year in a holistic way. It hasn't been great in the Prem. Well, then maybe the answer is no to the 90-minute question.
And then do you risk bringing in a coach that doesn't inject that confidence, that belief in the club, the fan? Well, we're still, jury's out on the fan base, but in the players. I mean, it sucks to bring a coach in that you don't vibe with. You just come off of a championship. I don't know. It's, again, like their season, high risk, high reward.
It's a conundrum.
It definitely is. It's very interesting. Like you said, it just takes one game. It's either the Band-Aid to plaster it all up, or it's the cherry on top to get rid of him. I want to talk about Amorim before this game, had the sit-down interview with Guillaume Balaguer. We touched on that in this past week. And he said, even if we win, it's not good enough. As a fan now, you must be thinking, we haven't even won. so this, how low can we get? We haven't won. So surely there must be a thing. Fans must be looking at Amorim and thinking, why would we want him next season, Nico?
Yes and no. Like, I understand why you would. Like, you look at the results and you say, what's going on? The club has been very transparent that there's a project in place, Amorim, that wants to play a certain way. There's probably going to be a lot of players going out, a lot of players coming in. So I think you need to give him the benefit of the doubt, but the doubt is there. And that margin of error is thin, Benny.
Mm-hmm.
I actually liked what Ruben Amorim said in that press conference. I think he was honest. I think he was raw. At the end of the day, coaches that promise things, and look, it's the yin and the yang from what we talked about Ange, but I just don't think it's reliable, right? You can't promise championships, but I do think that he believes in what he's doing. Have we seen much of the results? No. I think you look at the Luke Shaw interview. I mean, I think, man, you need some winners, some guys with some personality, because that crest is heavy, right? That jersey is heavy, and I just don't know if there's enough guys in there that truly believe that they can turn it around. But I do think Ruben Amorim is one of them. I think that, I would stick with him. I think it's a benefit, like we talked about, blessing in disguise. I think it's a benefit that they're not in European soccer next year.
Agreed.
When you don't make European soccer, there's a reason why you didn't make it. You're not good enough to compete in multiple tournaments. And so they're going to have to focus on the Prem. And I do think that you keep with this, with Ruben's mentality and his ideology, and try and see if you can pick some winning players to bring into the squad and see what you can do in the Prem next year.
Now he's got the runway.
Yeah, definitely. Darian, this season we saw Amorim kind of saying we're focusing on Europa League. Now, next season, he's only got the Premier League to focus on. He's got a bit more pressure on him now because he won't be playing in Europe.
A bit.
A lot more pressure then. What do you think Man United fans can expect from him over the summer and the next season?
I think there's going to be players. I mean, we've seen, Garnacho's confused as to why he's not starting the match. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we don't see him in the team next year. There's going to be a lot of movement, but I think it's really beneficial to Amorim now to have the runway to really reset tactically, inject his own mentality, tactics into this team, and acquire players that are going to buy into it and want to be a part of this and know that it's going to be hard work. It's not just going to be handed to you. Like you said, he needs winners. He needs a team and players on this team that are ready to run with that and are okay with the process. And I don't know if he has that squad that's here to enjoy the process as opposed to winning and representing Manchester United.
How patient are they going to be? That's the ultimate question, right? Because, listen, Amorim, I love the way he speaks.
I do too.
I think a lot of us do.
It's refreshing.
Yeah. But he's not winning games. His team is awful. Football isn't about the manager talking the talk. Like, he talks really well. That's awesome.
But he was handed, remember the tangled headphones from Eric Ten Hag?
Right. But
it takes some time.
Right. This isn't
It does, and he hasn't had a preseason. And look,
I get it. It's been I'd be. Look, listen. I would be more in your guys' camp and more in your guys' thoughts of opinion if from Ten Hag this project took a step back. Mm-hmm. This is not a step back. This is their worst season since they've been relegated in the top flight of English football. They took several, they regressed massively. If it was all right, still dealing with the issues, they got worse since he took over, objectively. So I do get it. He hasn't had a full season. He's going to get a full preseason now. He's going to get the players he wants. He's going to be able to impose his style. But I feel like if that's not starting to happen and we're seeing the same trend, that patience at United, for all that you can say that we got a project, it's going to run thin, that patience. And we're not talking about Sporting. We're talking about arguably the biggest club in world football,
but
right?
But with another new coach coming in, you think that they could handle it and do it?
I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing. I don't disagree. I don't think any of us disagree that there's been a lot of bad this year, whether it was with Ten Hag or Amorim afterwards. But if you're moving on from Amorim now, I just can't understand any sensible person that believes that should happen.
I'm not saying now. I'm not saying now. I'm talking about January of next year, February of next year.
You have to give him an opportunity to truly impose himself on this team.
So how much patience?
I think you at least need to give him the start of a season where you have a team in the preseason. You get to, put your ideas together, because at the end of the day, when you take over a team in the middle of the season and you have, in England, you have a game every 3 days.
Yeah.
You have 1-2 days. We have a regen day here, then match day -1 here. There's no real time to influence the players in a grander scale. And I think starting next year is when the pressure is going to get turned up a bit.